Hi, we'll talk today again about my favorite topic, about the north and south node of the moon, or as they know them in Sanskrit, Rahu and Ketu. And these two points, they're not exactly planets, they're points, they define the karmic fate of the person. They actually show one of the most interesting thing in the chart. And if you learn how to understand just Rahu and Ketu, it's enough. You can learn so much about the person. You can know their biggest insecurities and their biggest strength in their character. And you can really help your children or your husband or your friends or yourself by knowing the position of Rahu and Ketu and what it means in your horoscope, to know what your big mission, spiritual mission in life is, what will bring you fulfillment, how you can help yourself move forward spiritually in development. And very quickly, what is Rahu and Ketu? In Western astrology, Rahu is depicted like that. In Eastern astrology, and Ketu is depicted like that. And Ketu is the south node of the moon, Rahu is the north node of the moon. And very quickly, what exactly do they represent for those of you who want to know a bit about the background? The moon and the sun are the consciousness. The moon is the personal consciousness. The individual, how you perceive the world. So it's basically the separate individual with its ego. It's the ego consciousness, separate individual mind of the person. While the sun is the big consciousness, the consciousness of the all, of the Godhead or whatever, of the universe, and the ultimate goal of everyone's life is to merge the individual consciousness with the higher consciousness, with the one consciousness, to become one. And this happens over hundreds and hundreds of reincarnations, where very few people have managed to merge, some yogi or Jesus Christ, like or saints, and we're still on that path, but we can help with every life, we can help move further the merging of the lower consciousness, the moon, the individual ego consciousness with the higher consciousness, which is the sun. And Rahu and Ketu, the south and north node, represent the point where the sun's ecliptic crosses the moon's ecliptic, actually where the moon's ecliptic crosses the sun ecliptic. And that's why they indicate the positions of growth in the person, of most spiritual growth, because we want to merge the moon and the sun in our consciousness. The moon rules, the moon and the sun, they rule two higher glands and chakras in the mind, in the head. And when the Kundalini rises, the energy of the back spine, you merge those two, you merge the signals from those two pineal glands with the lower ones of the body. And this is when higher consciousness is achieved. This is when person achieves clairvoyance or nirvana, or unifies their consciousness. They no longer feel separated. They feel like everything is one. And this is the point of reincarnation. So the south node, Ketu, and the north node, they're where the moon crosses, where the ecliptic of the moon crosses the ecliptic of the sun. So these are like something like that. Let's say, maybe I'm not doing it right. So something like that, And one side would be the north-south is Rahu, the north node of the moon, and the south side is Ketu, the south node of the moon. And Ketu is something which indicates in your horoscope what you have to detach from in order to grow towards this, in helping the spiritual process within yourself, in fulfilling the mission. Ketu is something you have to let go. Rahu is something that is a bit of a chaos in your life because you haven't developed in your past life. It's something you have to embrace and work on and develop, because this is where people stumble the most. Ketu is something you have developed a lot in a past life or in the early part of your life, and you have to let go of, not fully detach, not fully, let go of this thing in your life. For instance, if Ketu is with Venus, it doesn't mean you have to let go of relationships, but you have to detach from the concept of this thing. So I'll explain to you later. So now we're going to check when Rahu and Ketu with a certain planet in your horoscope. We checked already when Rahu or Ketu, the north nodes, are in different houses. And whatever house Rahu is, or the north node, you have to develop it. And you have to let go of the house where the south node is, to move your consciousness further, into the merging of the lower and the higher self, the ego with the higher mind, which Rahu and Ketu strive toward. And now we're going to look when Rahu and Ketu are in the same sign, which means conjunct with a planet. If you have a planet conjunct Rahu and Ketu, it means you have to work a lot. It's really like magnified and it's really stressed in your horoscope because you have some important work to do with this planet. For instance, the sun rules career and goals. If it's with Rahu or Ketu, something specific will be happening in your life about it. And how can you see if you have a planet with the north node or the south node? Well, go to my website, astrolada.com, where I have a birth chart calculator, and enter your time and place of birth. Even if you don't know the time, it's okay. And then you'll get a chart similar to this one. And I just want you to see, for instance, if you see that Rahu is here, I want you to see in the same quadrant, what other planets are in the same quadrant as Rahu. If it's Mars, or Saturn or whatever. And I want you to listen for the videos for any planet which is in the same square or the same sign as we call, as Rahu or with Ketu. And please watch the videos and listen what you have to develop or let go of in your life. Now, if you have Jupiter, Rahu with Jupiter in the same sign, or the north node as it's showed in your Western, in the horoscope, if you're using a Western chart, the circular one, it will be showed like that. When they're in the same sign, doesn't matter if they're very close to each other or no. But actually let's start always with the position of the north, of the south node, because it is the past, it indicates the past. So if you're someone who has Ketu, or the south node as we call with Jupiter, what is it? Well, there are usually two paths that are very possible for them from a past life, or that they developed in their past life. The first thing Jupiter represents is, on a more mundane, superficial level, it's wealth. And these people very often were quite rich in a past life, or they had a big wealth in their life. They had abundance. They experienced abundance in their life. And in this life, they know how to create wealth. They know how to attract wealth in their life. And I have a friend with this position. And when we arrived to England together, we were first cleaning houses. We started from the bottom. We were making 1/5 of what the normal person would make here. And she had this position, but she always had a feeling like, I know how to attract wealth. And she became a millionaire within a few years, and these people know how to do this. But I'm not saying all of those people will be rich. I'm just saying that they have awareness and experience from a past life how to create wealth. But because Ketu, or the south node as we know it, is all about letting go of the attachment to whatever it is with. So it's about letting go this life. You have to learn, especially later on after 35, 40 onwards, you have to learn how to let go of the attachments to wealth and anything it entails. And for some people, it might mean that if they're not letting go consciously of this attachment, that life will take away their wealth later on. So they can realize the importance of wealth is not, so they stop identifying with wealth. But for more mature souls, it doesn't have to be that they get poor and their wealth gets taken. Not at all. They'll start getting more detached from the idea of wealth, that it's not all important, that it's not what gives meaning to their life, So this friend of mine, she still is very rich, but when she gained this wealth, she started realizing, and she was telling me, actually, I don't feel any more attached to money. I wanted them before I had them a lot, and now that I have so much money and wealth, I'm actually disinterested. She lost the pleasure out of this wealth that is getting. It's kind of spiritualizing the idea of wealth. This is what the south node influences, Ketu. It's spiritualizing it, and it's making you detached. So it's making you disinterested. You either stop getting pleasure out of wealth, or just you kind of spiritually grow about your understanding about it, and detach emotionally, and it's not all for you in your life. Jupiter also rules your tolerance and generosity and acceptance of others. So such people are very kind often because they've developed in a past life this generosity. They were very giving, they were very tolerant, they were very accepting. And you'll see in this life they're still very accepting of others and tolerant and kind, And this friend of mine who has it, even when we were making so little money and working such menial jobs, she would get her salary, she would put some aside for the month, and she would take all of our friends and take us to her dinner, and spend all the money on us. So they know how to be generous, those people. and also they're very tolerant and kind. So these people are quite often very pleasant, you know. And on another possible past life with these people is that they very much, Jupiter symbolizes religion, spirituality, anything which is about developing the higher side. You know, Jupiter's lower manifestation is wealth. Its higher manifestations is spirituality, meaning, and philosophy. So such people were very often either teachers in past life, philosophers. They were very much into some religion or spirituality. They were very much working on their spirituality and understanding of the big questions in life, like what are we here for? Is there a God? Meaning, life after death? You know, the big moral laws. So these people have an ingrained moral clock in them, you know. They're very much aware what's right and wrong, and they're kind of a bit like wise people, you know. Or others would go to them, advisors like gurus. The others would go from young age to them for advice. To ask them what is right, what is wrong, you know, because these people have a bird's view. They've learned to develop a bird's view, to look at things from higher perspective. This is what Jupiter is, the higher mind. So it can see from above and see how things fit together, how the puzzle fit together, and it can give an advice to others who are actually the others who are sitting still below, and they're overpowered, you know, by they can't see the whole picture. So these people, they're natural teachers, they're natural advisors, they're natural gurus. They have natural ingrained moral rules of what is right and wrong, and spirituality. But because Ketu always wants us to let go, even though these people might have some very strong belief system from young, can have very strong spiritual inclinations, very strong moral code of what is right and wrong, Ketu at a certain period will create a breakdown of this moral system, of this belief. Some people might even have to let go of their religion if they're very religious, you know, and change it. It will stop working for them. Ketu exhausts something, because in this life you are supposed to let go of those, of what you've developed, you've overly identified with in a past life, which is some spiritual belief, which is some moral code of behavior that you overly identified. So in this life, often they'll have a change in their spirituality, change in letting go of one philosophical belief system and accepting another one. Even if you're not a philosophical type of person, it will be one way of your belief system. It can be something simple as what your belief system is, that life you have to work very hard, and you know, if you don't work hard, you're never gonna get where you are. You know, it can be such a belief system, it might stop working in your life. So you have to, or you get disappointed with whatever belief system you have, you get disillusioned, disenchanted. This is the quality of Ketu. So you have to detach from it, otherwise you feel emptied from the meaning in your life. Jupiter is the meaning in your life, the goals and purposes, the things that make life meaningful. And for most people, this is their spiritual belief, this is the understanding of what life is for, you know. And when you are emptied of that feeling, you start feeling very, you know, not purposeless, but it can be like that. It can be like disappointed, and you have to learn to detach from your spiritual beliefs, such that you acquired in past lives or early part of your life, and you know, and be more open to newer ones, you know, to newer moral set of values and rules, you know. So this is the other thing that can happen with those people, you know. But all in all, they're very pleasant people to be around. They have deep wisdom. Others like being around them. But they might have, with age, more and more doubts about their wisdom, more and more doubts about their belief system. This is what Ketu wants. This is what Ketu wants, to detach you from the ego identifications with your old belief system. And with your, because anything that you ego identify with, that you very much identify with, is a restriction for you. It's not the ultimate goal, you know. You have to be free from all attachments, and this is what Ketu wants you. Free yourself from old beliefs, old moral codes and rules. And it doesn't mean be lawless or without the rules. It is just about breaking those which you've overly identified in past life, and giving you, bring higher ones, more evolved ones. And what happens if is the opposite? If you have the North Node, Rahu with Jupiter, like that, or the North Node with Jupiter. Well, in the same sign, it means that actually you haven't much worked on your spiritual development in past life, or spiritual things, and you haven't much worked on gaining a relationship with a power higher than yourself or some higher understanding about life. Haven't much work, on moralness and lawfulness, and understanding the principles of life. And what it means in this life to gain happiness, to gain more fulfillment, you have to work on such spiritual principles and more higher understanding, on developing your intuition. Jupiter is anything which is of the higher mind, and the higher mind doesn't use the intellect. It feels from inside. It has an intuition, and it has belief systems. But such people, because Rahu, the North Node as we call it, always externalizes whatever it doesn't have. In this case, doesn't have strong developed power, a strong developed belief system, or a well-developed or a balanced one, it will externalize it, and you often can see such people being actually very religious and traditional on the outside and following some strict moral code and being like very moralistic and teach alike on the outside, actually doing it to an extreme. It's never balanced, and actually it's more of an act, because these people don't have really this inner connection to higher self, to higher understanding. They don't have it. They can be a bit more dogmatic even, but on the outside they can look like the most spiritual and religious and blessing you and kissing, and doing all those traditions, but actually it's just externalizing. They don't really have this within themselves. They don't really have this inner connection to source, as I said, to a high understanding, and they're trying to do it by outer actions. So these people have to humble themselves spiritually, and they have to work on their beliefs and understandings. You can see someone with very extreme beliefs and understanding, like someone who is a racist, or someone who believes that, something more extreme, something that for their belief system is, yes, war is the way, and we have to, like very fanatical belief system, or very unhealthy and balanced, because Rahu is something, the North Node is something we haven't worked on, or something that we don't have balance in, something that is a bit tainted within ourselves, which we have to work on balancing, on perfecting, on making more, internalizing more, and making it part of ourselves rather than just projecting it. And or the other extreme of the North Node is that these people who have very little, especially in the early part of life, spirituality, or pull towards that, and later on they'll have to develop it, and they have to develop some higher meaning of their life, because this is the call of their purpose, their spiritual mission in life. It will bring them happiness. It will bring them balance, researching philosophies, or also learning. Jupiter, as we said in the when we talked about Jupiter South Node, is that Jupiter is generosity. Jupiter is charity, helping others and being very tolerant to others. And these people have to develop tolerance, have to develop charity, proper charity, and real desire to give from the heart, rather than just to give as a smoke, to say someone who gives to charity for tax reasons, or someone who gives to charity just so others can see that and say, oh, he's a very charitable person. But you have to develop a real tolerance, patience, all these Jupiter things, which are kindness, tolerance, patience towards others, and work on this. On those beautiful divine qualities of Jupiter, they will bring you happiness. For more materially minded people, these people can learn how to attain wealth in life, proper wealth, and how to, and it always Rahu delays whatever it is with, so it might take later in life, it might take a bit longer to develop a relationship with the meaning of wealth in your life. For women, this can be actually a much more painful position, because Rahu, the Jupiter indicates in a women's chart the spouse. Because in Vedic astrology, or in astrology, is considered that Jupiter is the spiritual merit of a person. And for women, getting a good spouse is like a spiritual reward. A good spouse for a woman is someone who leads her, who gives her strong moral grounding, who is moral, and who is very, who has rights and rules, and who is spiritually more evolved, and they're, a much more moral person, which is Jupiter, And such women they take them much longer till they find such a person. So they might have a couple of marriages which are broken, or they might have wrong choices when it comes to husband. They might have husbands or partners which are, you know, not so moral or not so reliable in some way, which are not so high-minded, or which were just a wrong choice, you know, which it takes longer for these women to find the right person for marriage. It's only in women. It's only in women's charts, because Jupiter is one of the planets symbolizing naturally the husband. Because spiritual merit that is given to a woman through the husband is coming later. It's somehow tainted. It's not fully there. So usually after 39, 40, 42 onwards, these women can get better relationships and can find not relations so much as the partner that they find can be better. But before that, it's harder. It's a bit delayed, you know, because they haven't, you know, as we said, the North Node delays things. But don't get desperate. It doesn't mean you'll never marry. It doesn't mean you'll always be unhappy in relationship. You can find satisfaction, as we said, always, though, a bit later in time for women. This is not so for men. It's just for women. And for women, the best thing for them to improve this situation, if they keep attracting the right partner, the wrong partner, the partner that cannot be relied on, or, you know, makes them unhappy, the best way for them is to work on their spiritual development. The more they work on themselves spiritually, on their belief system, on everything that Jupiter represents, they have to internalize it, Jupiter, which means like develop real love for higher power, a real understanding of who they truly are. Jupiter is self-knowledge. So I'm not saying go and buy all the self-help book library, you know, but you can definitely, the more you work on your self-knowledge, on inner understanding, on spiritual growth, and on charity and kindness and giving, and on acceptance and tolerance, and broadening your vision and your self-knowledge. Jupiter is knowledge, higher knowledge. Expanding your higher knowledge, the faster you'll be able to attract a better partner. So first, these women have to work on their spiritual qualities, all qualities that Jupiter signifies, as I said, and then they can gain a better partner, you know. And such women can be actually truly spiritual, especially after 30 onwards. You can see some people who are truly spiritual with this position, but usually time has to pass, you know. A bit later in life, real spirituality can be developed through those people, but earlier on, it's either a projected one or it's not there, you know, there is something wrong with it. And happiness in marriage from the partner in women's chart comes a bit later. Well, thank you so much. Please write your experiences, what you think of that. Share your opinions if you've noticed this in your life. Thank you.